Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Walking the Blunt Blade. I am Oliver. I have a little story this morning. I'm full of little stories. Just suggesting that maybe, there's no such thing as perfection in the world. DNA testing and fingerprinting, it's all good to some degree, but there's got to be an element of logic. There's got to be an element of intelligence to make those things float, and especially put them together when it comes to trying to solve crimes, etc. So when I was much younger, I had a car stolen, which wasn't the best car in the world. It was just frustrating because I needed to get to work and stuff. Anyway, I did what I had to do. I called the police. I filed the police report, and about 7-8 days later, the police called me and said, "We've located your car." And I said, "That's great, fantastic. I thought you guys had given up. It's got more important things to do." And the policeman said, no, we have a special task force for this. And I went, brilliant. So he gave me the address, and I went and picked up the car. When I got there, because my car was parked on the lawn of some people, the owner of the house said, "You're here to pick up the car, fantastic." And I said, "Yeah, the cops said, they've had a task force working on this round the clock." He said, "No. I've called the police 2 times now to get the owner of this vehicle to move because I want to mow my lawn." Anyway, fast forwarding my life, some years later, I had a friend over, and it was in the first house I purchased in Charnwood. And I got a knock on the door from the neighbours at about, 11 o'clock at night, saying, "I think your car's been stolen." Now, it couldn't have been my car because my car was in the garage, and instead it was my friend's car. So I said to her, "I'll use the force and see if I can't track your car down, and you call the police and tell them, you've had your car stolen." Seemed like a reasonable thing to do, so I got into my car, using the force and my special powers. I located her car and, people driving it. So I high-beamed them and signaled for them to pull over. Instead, what they did was pull into oncoming traffic and try and outrace me, which was just too dangerous. So anyway, I got on the phone to my friend and I said, "Look, tell the police this is the last known location of the car, heading in this direction. I'm coming home." So she handed all that information over to the police, and a week or so later, she got a phone call from the police saying they've located her car. They wanted to come in and check it out. So she asked me to drive her, which of course I did. And the car had been pretty much totaled, and so I'm looking at the outside of it and touching it, going, "What the fuck has been going on?" I said, "That's not good." Anyway, now I think at this point it's pertinent to mention I've never ever been inside her car, not as a passenger, and certainly not driving. Anyway, we left. She called her insurance company. The insurance company was good enough, to replace the car or something. And a day or 2 later, I get a phone call from the AFP. This is where the story actually gets funny and takes a turn. Not so funny for me at the time. So, as a result of having lost my fingerprints in a much earlier incident when I was about 16, 17, I get a phone call from the AFP. I don't know what she was, Sergeant. We'll call her Officer Olivia. I remember her name was Olivia because I said, nice name. Anyway, she says, could you come down the station because we'd like to talk to you? And I said, no. Why would I come down the station? What do you want to talk to me about? We'd just like to ask you some questions. And I said, you need to be a little bit more specific, Olivia. It's in regards to a stolen car. Anyway, I'm sitting on the phone with this girl, scratching my head going, when was the last time I stole a car? I'd been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto at the time, and I said to her, that's just a video game, right? She said, this is a serious matter. I expect you to come down the station so we can... I said, I need more information. Anyway, she gave me the car details. It clicked, it was my friend's, and that my fingerprints were found on it. And I said, you're kidding, right? She said, no. Are you going to come down the station? And I told her, stop asking me. I'm not coming down the station. And I said, I think you've been given a bogus assignment, Olivia. How are you guys doing your jobs? You fingerprinted that car way too late. She said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I know the car you're talking about. I know that you only found my fingerprints on the outside of it, not on the inside, and not in places, for example, like the steering wheel. And you fingerprinted it way after you found the car. And she said, how do you know this? And I said, I'm the guy that assisted making the report when the car was stolen. Anyway, she kept harping on, why don't you just come down the station and give us the details? And I said, no, why don't you come here? Because I'm far too busy. I ain't doing it. She said, where do you live? And I just thought, oh my God. I said, look, I live where the car was reportedly stolen from. I have no more time. Constable, Sergeant, Officer, Olivia, goodbye now. Why am I telling that story? Because I can. Now, needless to say, I think I should quickly mention before people assume stuff, right? You don't finish the story. That later on I was arrested. No, I wasn't arrested, and police never came to me. I got on the phone with my friend and I said, look, just had an interesting conversation with the police. Kindly told them. Anyway, just the height of stupidity. It was the height of defectiveness, irrelevance. It was just, and I felt sorry for the police officer. Needless to say, myself at the time. Anyway, so there's the danger in having evidence, but not being able to attach logic, common sense to that evidence. I hope that's helped. If for no one else, then the task force of the AFP that apparently spends a lot of time searching for stolen vehicles. Cheers, everybody.